There is a part of you that already knows. A part that has always known long before this moment. Long before you found this video. Long before you began the deliberate work of understanding your own mind. There has been a quieter intelligence operating beneath the surface of your daily life. Your subconscious, that vast, patient, extraordinarily precise processing system that runs 11 million bits of information every second, has been observing everything. It has been watching the patterns, noticing what nourishes and what depletes, recognizing what is genuine and what is performance. Identifying what belongs to the life you were built for, and what has been borrowed from other people's expectations, other people's fears, other people's unexamined definitions of what a good life looks like, and it has been sending signals, not loudly. The subconscious does not shout. It whispers, it speaks in the language of feeling, in the restlessness that arrives on Sunday evenings without explanation. In the tiredness that persists even after adequate sleep, in the quiet sense that something is slightly off, that the life you're living is somehow adjacent to the life you were meant to live, but not quite it, in the moments of genuine aliveness that arrive unexpectedly, and then disappear just as quickly when the habitual patterns reassert themselves. Those signals are not accidents. They are not symptoms of anxiety or ingratitude or some fundamental dissatisfaction with being human. They are messages, precise, intelligent, compassionate messages from the deepest layer of your own mind, pointing toward what needs to change, what needs to be released, what has been held long enough, what is ready to be let go. Today, I'm going to name 10 of those things, 10 specific patterns, 10 habits of mind and relationship and self-perception that your subconscious has been asking you with increasing urgency to eliminate from your life as I name them. I want you to notice something very specific. Notice which ones land differently than the others. Notice the slight quickening of recognition. The feeling that this one is mine. That this one is the thing my subconscious has been pointing toward. That recognition is not random. It is your deepest intelligence confirming what it has known all along. These are the things, and the time to release them is now. Before I share the 10 things, I need to speak about something that is as important as the list itself. Something that most conversations about personal transformation miss entirely. The word in this video's title that matters most is not the number 10. It is not even the word eliminate. It is the word silently. Why silence? Why is it essential that these particular eliminations happen quietly, without announcement, without the dramatic declarations and public commitments that our culture tends to associate with meaningful change? The answer lies in the nature of subconscious change itself, and in the specific vulnerability of any genuine transformation in its earliest stages. When you make a change loudly, when you announce to the world what you are releasing and what you are becoming, you immediately invite the world into a process that is not yet strong enough to withstand the world's involvement. Think about what happens when you tell the people in your life that you are making a significant change. The people who love you will worry, because change means uncertainty, and uncertainty activates their own subconscious fear programs. The people who are comfortable with you as you are will resist, not necessarily consciously or maliciously, but with the deep subconscious resistance of someone who senses that your change will require them to change something in themselves as well. The people who have an unconscious investment in your Limitations will find 1,000 articulate, reasonable, apparently caring reasons why this particular change is premature or ill-advised, or not quite right for someone in your specific situation. And here is what makes all of that so dangerous in the early days of genuine change. Your new subconscious programs are fragile. The neural pathways you're beginning to build are thin and easily disrupted. The old programs have decades of neural weight. They are fast and deep and automatic. And the new ones, however genuine the intention behind them, are in the beginning genuinely vulnerable to the weight of the old environment's resistance. Silence protects them. Silence gives the subconscious space to build the new pathways before the world arrives with its arguments, its doubts, its well-meaning interference. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood this intimately. Epictetus wrote that we should keep our intentions to ourselves, not out of secrecy, but out of wisdom. He understood that the premature announcement of a genuine change was often the thing that prevented the change from taking root, because the energy required to defend the change to others was energy taken from the actual work of making the change real. The oak does not announce itself before it breaks through the soil. It simply grows quietly, persistently. Without seeking permission or understanding from the environment it is about to transform, and by the time it is visible, it is already strong enough, its roots are already deep enough to withstand whatever weather arrives to meet it. This is the model for the 10 eliminations that follow. Make the decision in silence. Begin the practice in silence. Do the subconscious work in silence. And let the results speak when they are strong enough to speak for themselves. The first thing to silently eliminate: the need to explain yourself to people who have already decided who you are. This is one of the most exhausting and ultimately futile investments a human being can make. There are people in your life who carry a fixed image of you, built over years of observation, projection, and the unconscious assignment of a role that serves their own psychological needs. And no matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter what you become, they will interpret it through the lens of that fixed image. You get a promotion, and they find a way to frame it as luck rather than capability. You express a new perspective, and they dismiss it as a phase. You make a genuine transformation, and they wait for you to return to the version of you that they know how to relate to. Explaining yourself to these people is not communication. It is not connection. It is not even really an attempt to be understood. It is the ego's desperate attempt to prove to a jury that has already delivered its verdict. And the subconscious knows this. It knows the exhaustion of these conversations. It knows the particular depletion of trying to be seen by someone who is not actually looking. The energy consumed by the endless explanation is not just time wasted. It is subconscious processing power diverted from the actual work of becoming the person you are explaining yourself as. Release the need to explain yourself to the people who have already decided who you are. Not with hostility, not with withdrawal. Simply with the quiet dignity of someone who has decided that their becoming does not require a particular audience's understanding. Your subconscious knows who you are becoming. It does not need their recognition to continue the process. The second thing to silently eliminate: the version of yourself you perform for people who do not actually see you. Not the authentic self that emerges in genuine connection. Not the version that arises naturally in the presence of someone who truly knows you, the managed version. The one assembled in advance based on anticipated reactions. the one that softens the real opinion to avoid friction, that laughs at the joke it does not find funny because the social cost of not laughing seems higher than the cost of the performance. That agrees with the position it genuinely opposes because disagreement feels like a risk that is not worth taking, that presents achievements in careful proportion to avoid triggering envy or inadequacy in others, that minimizes pain to avoid burdening people who have not actually offered to carry it. This version of yourself is extraordinarily expensive to maintain, not just emotionally, neurologically. The subconscious resources required to run a continuous real-time performance, monitoring every response, adjusting every expression, calculating every disclosure against a constantly updated social risk assessment, are vast. And every unit of those resources is a unit not available for the creative, intuitive, genuinely intelligent work that your subconscious is capable of when it is not occupied with the performance. Release the performance, not recklessly, not all at once, but gradually and deliberately begin to show up in your actual form, with the actual opinion, the actual feeling, the actual response, and notice how the subconscious energy that was consumed by the performance becomes available for something real. The third thing to silently eliminate: the habit of consuming content that confirms your limitations rather than expanding your sense of what is possible. Your subconscious is always learning, always integrating, always updating its programs based on what it is given most consistently and with the greatest emotional charge. Every piece of content you consume is not neutral entertainment. It is programming. The news that presents the world as fundamentally threatening, the social media that presents other people's lives as evidence of your own inadequacy, the conversations that orbit around what is impossible and what is unfair and what is too late, all of this content enters your subconscious and becomes part of its operating system. Not immediately, not dramatically, but cumulatively, over days and weeks and months of consistent exposure, it builds neural pathways. It deepens grooves. It makes certain ways of thinking feel more automatic and more true than they actually are. The person who consumes 3 hours of limitation-confirming content daily and then wonders why possibility thinking feels so effortful is not experiencing a personal failing. They are experiencing the predictable neurological consequence of feeding the subconscious a consistent diet of limitation. Silently begin to audit what you are consuming. Not with rigid rules or dramatic content detoxes, simply with the honest question: does this expand my sense of what is possible for a person like me, or does it contract it? And then quietly begin to choose differently. The fourth thing to silently eliminate: the relationships you remain in out of guilt rather than genuine connection. I want to approach this one with particular care because it is the one most likely to be misunderstood. This is not a call to abandon people who are difficult or imperfect or going through hard times. Genuine love includes the capacity to stay, to show up, to be present through difficulty and through seasons of giving that are not balanced by equivalent receiving. What I am pointing toward is something different. It is the relationship where the primary binding force is not love, not genuine care, not the irreplaceable value of a particular human connection, but guilt. The feeling that leaving would be wrong. That staying is what a good person does. That the other person's pain or disappointment or anger is something you are responsible for preventing at the cost of your own authentic life. This kind of staying is not love. It is a subconscious program often installed in childhood that learn to equate guilt-driven self-sacrifice with goodness, with worth, with the right to exist in relationship. The relationship held together primarily by guilt is a constant subconscious drain. Not because the other person is necessarily bad or demanding, but because guilt-based connection requires the suppression of genuine self, the performance of a version of care that is not authentic, and the slow accumulation of resentment that comes with any long-term suppression of genuine truth. Silently begin to distinguish between the relationships you choose from love and the relationships you remain in from obligation, and begin carefully, gradually, to make choices that are honest rather than merely comfortable. The fifth thing to silently eliminate: the story that your past determines your future. This is perhaps the most widely distributed limiting program in human culture. The belief that who you have been is who you will be, that the patterns of the past are the reliable predictors of the patterns of the future, that the mistakes you have made, the opportunities you have missed, the versions of yourself that failed or collapsed or simply never quite came together, are the definitive evidence of what is possible for you going forward. The story is everywhere. It shows up in the language of self-awareness that sounds like honesty, but is actually resignation. I know myself. I always do this. This is my pattern. I have tried before, and it did not work. It is dressed in the clothing of wisdom, of realistic self-knowledge, of the mature acceptance of one's limitations. But beneath the sophisticated language, it is simply a subconscious program running a loop, feeding the same old data into the same old conclusion. And here is what makes it particularly insidious. The subconscious is neuroplastic. The brain is not a fixed architecture determined by your history. It is a living, changing, genuinely restructurable system that responds to thought, experience, and deliberate practice with actual physical transformation. New neural pathways can be built at any age. Old ones can be weakened and replaced. The person who has been anxious for 40 years can develop genuine calm. The person who has always struggled financially can develop genuine abundance intelligence. The person who has repeatedly self-sabotaged can develop the subconscious identity of someone who sees things through, not easily, not quickly, but genuinely, neurologically, permanently. The story that your past determines your future is not a fact about your brain. It is a fact about your current subconscious programming, and programming, as we have established throughout this channel, can be changed. Silently begin to speak to yourself differently about what your history means. It is not a prediction. It is a record of where you have been, and where you have been has nothing definitive to say about where you are going. The sixth thing to silently eliminate: the apology for your genuine desires. The quiet, constant, often completely automatic minimizing of what you actually want. The translation of your real desires into more acceptable, more modest, more socially palatable versions that will not make anyone uncomfortable, will not invite the envious comment or the dismissive response or the well-meaning concern about whether you are being realistic. Your genuine desires are not vanity. They are not selfishness. They are not delusion dressed up as ambition. They are the subconscious pointing toward what is genuinely yours to build. The desire that will not go away, that returns after every disappointment and every failed attempt and every period of resigned acceptance. is the subconscious's most persistent communication. Its way of saying, this direction is real, this possibility belongs to you. This is worth continuing to move toward. When you apologize for your genuine desires, when you shrink them to fit the comfort of the people around you, you are not being humble or realistic or appropriately modest. You are silencing the most reliable guidance system available to you. Stop apologizing for what your subconscious is asking you to pursue. The seventh thing to silently eliminate: the noise that prevents you from hearing your own subconscious. We live in a world that has become extraordinarily sophisticated at filling every available moment of silence with stimulation. The phone that is present at every meal, every waiting moment, every transition between activities. The podcast that plays during the walk that used to be quiet. The television that provides background noise during the activities that used to happen in silence. The music that accompanies the morning routine that used to offer a few minutes of genuine stillness. None of these things is inherently harmful, but collectively, they create a condition in which the subconscious's voice, which speaks in quietness, which communicates through the quality of feeling that arises in unoccupied moments, is simply never heard because there are no unoccupied moments. Your subconscious is extraordinarily intelligent. It processes patterns that your conscious mind cannot access. It synthesizes information from your entire life experience into guidance that is precise and specific and often genuinely wise. But it requires something increasingly rare to deliver that guidance. It requires your attention, your genuine, undivided, unoccupied attention. The insights that have changed people's lives, the creative solutions that seem to arrive from nowhere, the sudden clarity about a relationship or a direction or a decision that had been confusing for months, almost universally arrive in the quiet, in the shower, on the walk without headphones, in the minutes before sleep when the phone has been put away, in the early morning before the day begins. These are not random moments of inspiration. They are the moments when the subconscious finally has enough quiet to deliver what it has been processing all along. Silently begin to protect the quiet, not dramatically, not with rigid schedules or anxious discipline, simply by leaving more moments genuinely unoccupied and listening, really listening to what arises in the space. The eighth thing to silently eliminate: the comparison that measures your inner reality against other people's outer performance. This is a form of subconscious self-harm that is so deeply embedded in modern culture that most people have stopped recognizing it as harmful at all. They simply experience its effects: the chronic low-grade inadequacy, the restless dissatisfaction with their own genuine achievements, the sense that everyone else has figured something out that they have missed, that other people's lives are more together, more abundant, more meaningful, more fully realized. This comparison is structurally unfair in a way that makes it impossible to resolve in your favor. You are comparing your unfiltered inner experience, your doubts, your fears, your moments of confusion and creative paralysis and genuine inadequacy, against the curated, edited, selectively presented outer performance of other people's lives. It is a comparison between the full complex reality of being you and the highlight reel of being them. The subconscious processes this comparison and draws the only conclusion available from that data. You are behind. You are less. You are somehow not keeping up with a standard that exists nowhere in reality but everywhere in the feeling. Silently eliminate the comparison, not by pretending that other people's achievements are not real or impressive, but by recognizing that their journey has nothing definitive to say about yours. Your subconscious is building something. It is always building something. The only relevant question is whether you are giving it the freedom and the attention and the direction it needs to build what is genuinely yours. The ninth thing to silently eliminate the habit of beginning sentences with "I could never," "I am not the kind of person who," "that is not for someone like me." These phrases seem small. They seem like casual self-description, the kind of modest disclaimers that polite people use to avoid appearing arrogant but they are not small. Not neurologically, every time you say "I could never" and mean it, you are giving your subconscious a direct installation command. You are telling the most sophisticated processing system in the known universe, with the emotional charge of genuine belief behind the words, to close and lock a door. And the subconscious, faithful and precise and extraordinarily good at following instructions, closes the door and locks it, and over time, with enough repetitions, stops even registering the possibility that was behind it. The reticular activating system, that extraordinary neural filter that determines what your conscious mind perceives from the 11 million bits available every second, receives the instruction. This is not relevant for someone like me, and it filters accordingly the opportunity that was right there. The connection that could have changed everything, the creative solution that was available all along, simply does not register because the subconscious was told not to look for it. I want to give you a specific and deliberate replacement for each of these phrases. Not as a forced positivity exercise, but as a neurologically precise act of subconscious reprogramming. Instead of "I could never," try "I have not yet figured out how." Instead of "I am not the kind of person who," try "I'm becoming someone who." Instead of "that is not for someone like me," try "I'm curious about what it would take for that to be available to me." Notice the difference in what each of these replacements does to the subconscious. The first set closes doors. The second set leaves them open, and an open door, held open consistently, with the genuine curiosity of someone who believes the possibility is real, eventually becomes a threshold that is crossed. Your subconscious learns from the doors you leave open as much as from the doors you walk through. Begin to speak in a way that leaves more doors open, and watch what the subconscious discovers on the other side of them. The 10th thing to silently eliminate, and this one is the most important, the one that makes all 9 of the others either possible or impossible, the one that sits beneath every other pattern on this list as both its cause and its sustaining force. The belief that you are not yet ready, not yet prepared enough, not yet healed enough, not yet certain enough, not yet experienced enough, not yet financially secure enough, not yet emotionally stable enough, not yet enough to begin building the life your subconscious has been pointing toward all along. This belief has more power over your trajectory than any external obstacle you will ever face, more power than unfavorable circumstances, more power than limited resources, more power than the opposition of other people, because it operates from the inside, from the place where all your power lives, from the subconscious itself, which makes it the most elegant and the most devastating trap available to the human mind. The not yet ready story is so powerful, so enduring, so resistant to ordinary challenge, because it appears to be wisdom. It appears to be the responsible voice of careful preparation, of self-awareness, of the mature recognition that beginnings require readiness, and sometimes in small doses applied to specific practical situations, this kind of patience is genuinely appropriate. But in the lives of most people, the not yet ready story is not wisdom. It is the subconscious guilt program wearing the costume of prudence. It is the upper limit pattern disguised as discernment. It is the deep fear of genuine expansion dressed up as self-awareness. It is the subconscious saying, I am not certain I deserve what I am pointing toward, and disguising that uncertainty as practical caution. Here is the truth that will either free you or frighten you. Depending on where you are in your own process, you will never feel ready. Not in the way the not yet ready story promises. Not in the way that would make the fear disappear and the certainty arrive and the conditions align so perfectly that beginning feels natural and inevitable. That moment does not exist. It has never existed. Not for a single person who has ever built anything real. The readiness does not arrive before the beginning. It arrives through it, through the first imperfect step. Through the initial confusion and discomfort of genuine unfamiliarity, through the discovery that you were more capable than the not yet ready story claimed, through the experience of doing the thing and surviving and learning and continuing. Every single person who has ever created something real in their life began before they were ready, not recklessly. Not without thoughtful preparation where preparation was genuinely required, but with the honest acknowledgement that no amount of further preparation would eliminate the fundamental uncertainty of beginning, and with the genuine courage, not the absence of fear, but the presence of something more important than the fear, to begin anyway. Your subconscious has been pointing towards something. It has been pointing for a long time. Release the not yet ready story and take the step that your deepest intelligence has been asking you to take today in silence, without announcement, without waiting for the certainty that will never arrive before the beginning begin. Now let us talk about how the elimination actually works, because naming the 10 things is only the beginning. The real work is the subconscious process of releasing them, and that process is different from what most people expect. Most people approach elimination as a behavioral project. They decide to stop doing something. They apply willpower to the cessation of the behavior, and they discover, often within days or weeks, that the behavior returns, because the behavior was never the problem. The behavior was always the symptom. The symptom of a subconscious program that is still running, untouched by the behavioral decision made at the conscious level. Genuine elimination begins in the subconscious. Not in the behavior. It begins with the withdrawal of the 2 things that sustain every subconscious program: attention and emotional charge. Every time your attention goes to the need to explain yourself to people who have decided who you are, you feed that program. Every time you generate genuine emotional energy around the comparison that diminishes you, you deepen the neural pathway that produces the comparison automatically. Every time you rehearse the not yet ready story with the felt sense of genuine belief, you install another layer of its programming. The first and most fundamental act of elimination is the withdrawal of conscious, attention, and emotional investment from the pattern. Not through suppression, not through fighting it, not through the kind of effortful not thinking about it that every meditator knows makes the thing more present rather than less, but through redirection. The moment you notice one of the 10 patterns activating, you pause, You observe it without judgment, without the additional drama of shame or self-criticism. You recognize it for what it is, a program, not a truth, not a permanent feature of reality, not evidence of who you fundamentally are, a subconscious program. And then you redirect quietly to something that builds rather than diminishes, to the identity you are choosing, to the possibility that is genuinely available, to the thought that serves the life you are constructing rather than the one you are leaving behind. This is how the subconscious releases what no longer serves, not through force, not through the performance of not having the pattern, through the quiet and consistent withdrawal of the energy that kept it alive. There is a specific time of day when the elimination work has its most powerful effect, when the subconscious is most open to releasing what no longer serves and most receptive to the new. Programs that will replace what is released. And it is the same window we return to throughout this channel, because the subconscious returns to it too. The theta state. That profound neurological condition that occurs in the 20 minutes after waking and in the 20 minutes before sleep, when the brain has slowed from the high-frequency beta of daily analytical activity through the alpha of relaxed awareness into the theta frequency that characterizes deep meditation, light hypnosis, and the extraordinary receptivity of the developing child. In the theta state, the analytical defenses are quiet. The critical faculty that evaluates and rejects and maintains the current programs has stepped back, and the subconscious, vast and patient and genuinely ready to update, is accessible in a way it simply is not during the ordinary waking day, every morning, in the 20 minutes after waking, before the phone, before the day, before the first conversation or decision or obligation assembles itself around you. You have a window. Use it for the elimination work. Bring to your awareness one of the 10 things you are choosing to release, not with effort or resistance or the exhausting attempt to force a feeling you do not have, with the quality of a gentle and deliberate opening, like unclenching a hand that has been holding something for so long that the holding has started to feel like the normal state. Feel what it would feel like genuinely. In your body, in the quality of your breath, in the sensation in your chest, to no longer carry that particular weight, the freedom of it, the spaciousness. The quality of energy that returns when it is no longer being consumed by that particular program. Let the subconscious feel this. Let it be real, even if it is only a fragile, tentative first taste of what the release would feel like. And before sleep, in the second theta window, do the same. Spend 5 minutes in the felt experience of a version of yourself that has genuinely released this particular thing, not the version that is trying to release it. The version that already has. What does that person feel like? How do they move through the world without that weight? What becomes available to them that was not available before? The subconscious installs what it feels most consistently in the theta state. Let it feel the freedom of what you are releasing, and watch, over days and weeks of consistent practice, how the release becomes real. Something happens when you begin to genuinely eliminate these 10 things from your subconscious life. Something that most people do not anticipate. And that makes the entire practice of elimination feel not like loss, but like the most profound kind of gain. Space opens, real, tangible, subconscious space. The processing power that was consumed by the need to explain yourself to people who had already decided who you are. By the continuous real-time performance of the managed identity? By the comparison that was structurally designed to diminish you? By the guilt-driven relationship maintenance? By the not yet ready story and all the elaborations the subconscious has built around it over years of repetition? All of that processing power does not disappear when the programs are released. It becomes available. For the work that is genuinely yours, for the creativity that could not surface through the noise, for the intuitive intelligence that was there all along but could not reach the conscious mind through the static of all that was consuming the bandwidth, for the genuine presence that becomes possible when you are not occupied with performance and comparison and the endless management of what has already been decided. Artists describe this experience as the return of inspiration, as the sudden feeling of creative availability that they had stopped believing was still in them. Entrepreneurs describe it as the arrival of genuine clarity, the quality of decisive intelligence that had been buried under the noise of self-doubt and approval-seeking, and the compulsive analysis that is really just the not-yet-ready story in business clothes. Parents describe it as a new quality of presence with their children, a genuine attentiveness that was not available when the subconscious was occupied with other things. Healers describe it as the return of compassion that was depleted by the drain of the wrong relationships and the wrong stories about what they owed the world. They are all describing the same thing, the subconscious reclaiming its bandwidth and redirecting its extraordinary processing power toward what is genuinely alive, genuinely possible, genuinely worth building. This is what waits on the other side of the 10 eliminations. Not a dramatic external transformation, not immediately, but something more fundamental, a quality of inner spaciousness, a new availability of your own deepest intelligence, a sense that the mind that was previously occupied is now free, and a free mind directed with intention. In the theta window, through the daily practice of deliberate subconscious work, is the most powerful creative force available to a human being? History does not usually record the eliminations. It records the results, the buildings that were built, the books that were written, the movements that were started, the lives that were transformed. But if you look closely at the lives of the people whose results history has preserved, you begin to see the eliminations that made those results possible. Leonardo da Vinci spent years quietly eliminating the need for external validation of his extraordinary range of interests. The artistic and scientific establishment of his time consistently questioned his focus, his method, his refusal to confine himself to a single discipline. He could have spent those years explaining himself to them, defending the breadth of his curiosity, arguing for the legitimacy of his approach. Instead, he painted, he designed, he dissected, he theorized. He observed the world with an attention that was made possible precisely because it was not consumed by the need to justify itself to people who had already decided what a painter should be. Henry David Thoreau walked quietly away from the version of his life that the world expected of him, and into the woods at Weldon Pond. He did not make a dramatic public statement. He did not invite debate. He did not explain himself at length to the people who found his choice inexplicable or irresponsible. He simply went. And in the space created by that silent elimination of the noise, the obligation, the performance of a version of himself that had nothing to do with what he genuinely was, he wrote one of the most enduring works in American literature. Viktor Frankl, imprisoned in 4 Nazi concentration camps across 3 years, eliminated in the deepest and most radical way possible the belief that external circumstances determined internal experience. He could not eliminate the circumstances themselves, but he could eliminate quietly, daily, in the privacy of his own subconscious, the story that his freedom was contingent on what happened outside of him. He chose, as he described it later, the last of the human freedoms, the freedom to choose one's response to one's circumstances. And from that quiet elimination of a profoundly limiting story emerged not just his personal survival, but the body of thought contained in man's search for meaning that has guided millions of people through their own encounters with circumstances they could not control. Each of these people understood what your subconscious has been trying to tell you, that the most important eliminations are quiet, that what you remove creates as much as what you add, that the space created by genuine release is where the most important work is done. Let us return to where we began. There is a part of you that already knows, it has always known. Your subconscious, in its vast and patient and extraordinarily intelligent way, has been holding the awareness of everything that needs to go, waiting for the conscious mind to become quiet enough to hear it, waiting for the moment when the noise of performance and comparison and the not yet ready story finally settles enough for the signal to come through clearly. This is that moment. The 10 things are not abstractions. They are specific, personal, already known to the part of you that hears this list and feels recognition rather than information. The need to explain yourself to people who have already decided who you are. The version of yourself you perform for people who do not actually see you. The content that confirms your limitations rather than expanding your sense of what is possible. The relationships held together by guilt rather than genuine love. The story that your past determines your future. The apology for your genuine desires. The noise that prevents you from hearing your own subconscious. The comparison that measures your inner reality against other people's outer performance. The sentences that begin with, I could never, and I'm not the kind of person who, and the most important of all 10. The belief that you are not yet ready. Your subconscious has been pointing toward these 10 things for a long time. It has been patient, it has sent its signals, and now you are hearing them not as criticism, not as evidence of failure, as invitation. A precise, compassionate, intelligent invitation from the deepest part of your own mind to become lighter, to become more genuinely yourself, to reclaim the subconscious bandwidth that has been consumed by what no longer serves, and to redirect that extraordinary intelligence toward what is real, what is alive, what is genuinely worth building. Leonardo painted in silence. Thoreau walked in silence. Frankl chose in silence. From a prison cell on a cold morning in a concentration camp, Rilke wrote in silence. Not because the world was not demanding their noise, but because they understood that the most important work, the work that would endure, was built in the space between the world's demands and their own deepest truth. That space is available to you right now in this quiet moment, and the decision to release what your subconscious has been asking you to release, and to trust the intelligence that has been pointing the way all along. The silence is not emptiness. It is the condition under which your most important work becomes possible. Use it. Subscribe to Awake Mind. I will see you in the next one.